I don't like to take advice from people that I don't think are better qualified than me or don't know anymore. I would do terrible as an employee if somebody broke my
Open and warm, I've had quite a few.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with 1 Hour Media, and I am joined by none other than Dr. Adam Ramsey. Adam Ramsey was actually an optometrist who's local here in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Dr. Adam, how are you?
and thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course. And I just wanted to first of all thank you for your, obviously your contributions to the eye care just genre or I mean, a lot of us, I know for myself, we forget how important eye care is and how important it is to take care of your eyes, especially when you got these bright lights or you're watching TV. And I think one of the things you helped me to discover is that I actually had a little issue. So we'll dive into that a little bit later. But before we dive in, you've been a pioneer in the field of optometry for a while and entrepreneurship. What inspires you to pursue optometry, and how did you transition from being a practitioner to a business owner?
Well, thanks for the question. I've graduated from, I went to University of Florida for undergrad, and then I went
Mhm.
to Southern College of Optometry in Memphis, Tennessee. And I graduated in 2012. So I've been doing this for 12 years, going on 13 years now. I love being able to help people. That's the one thing about optometry is that we can help people and I can have an immediate impact. So you can come in blurry and you can leave clear. You can come in pain and leave pain free. So,
Yes.
and I get to give people options. I'm saying, okay, you're blurry. How you want me to make it clear? Do you want to use eye drops? Do you want to use glasses? Do you want to use contacts? Do you want to use medication? What do you want to do for me to help you? And then I let patients choose, and they get to choose their own outcomes. And then I get to make that immediate impact. I looked around at other healthcare professions, and it was taking a while. If you had a heart issue, it doesn't solve really quick. Your knee
Right.
bothers you, it doesn't take. It's not quick. A lot of the
Right.
other professions didn't really weren't able to move the way my mind moves. So this one I was able to have a problem, solve it, get straight to it, and I love it. I get to make the impact. I get to be an entrepreneur, like you said. Get to be a business owner. It's a blessing. It also comes with its own challenges, but that's what you signed up for. So now I work through those challenges now every day.
Of course, and that's, as you know, that's one of the biggest things about being an entrepreneur is a solving a problem and overcoming those challenges. When you did first open up your practice, I'm sure it wasn't completely simple. What were some of those challenges that you faced when you first opened up? Do you remember that?
Yeah. So everybody, you see my office now. So you've been to my current office,
Of
but this
course.
isn't when I started. When I started and I graduated, I was in a little small hole in the wall in an industrial park. So I was further away and I was next to an optician. Optician is the one that makes the glasses and sells you the glasses.
Hmm.
And my office was like his closet. And I literally took the paintings from my wall at my house. I took my computer from college. I took chairs from my house. I used
Ooh.
borrowed and used equipment to get started. So and then I had a shared agreement where he didn't charge me rent, but I did the eye exams and allowed him to sell the glasses to the patients that I brought in. So I was able to start that with no money and just get it out the mud. I didn't have no patience to start. And I literally was in an industrial park where trucks would go through every 5 minutes, is where they drop off the little Amazon packages and all that stuff. That
Wow.
was I was seeing those guys, they would welding across the street, they would come in with metal foreign bodies in their eyes. I'd get the Amazon packages guy, UPS guys before and after they shift. Like that's
Right.
how I started. And I did that for 3 years. So people see my office in Palm Beach Gardens now, and they're like, "Oh, you must have did this." And I'm like, "Nah, you don't know my story. You don't know how I started. I started with nothing."
Yeah, and that's I think that's great insight for a lot of people. A lot of people think starting out that you may have this huge, I mean, I'm guessing either funding or capital, and it's encouraging to hear. And just going back, you wrote a book called Chestnut Checkers. You provided a guide for warm starting your optometric practice. What is one key lesson from that book that you believe you can apply to any business?
One thing about that book, it was given guiding principles on how to start a business. Now, you
Yes.
know, I've read books about Steve Jobs, and I learned about how they started Apple. I don't have the
Hmm.
interest in starting a computer program company,
Right.
right? So just because the examples in there were optometry related examples doesn't mean you can't take business principles from that. The key thing for me from that book was really understanding your why. Why do you want to work for yourself? Because if you do not have a clear why, you will get lost in the sauce. You'll get lost later on down in your journey when you're having a struggle, when you're having adversity. Because really understanding entrepreneurship means you're not just becoming a private business owner where you're just necessarily creating a business for yourself, right? You're creating a business that can grow and thrive without you. If when you take yourself out of that business, the business crumbles and you're not an entrepreneur, you're just self-employed. And a lot of people that call themselves entrepreneurs are actually just self-employed,
Yep.
right? And there's a big difference. You can be self-employed. Entrepreneur means you can plug something else in. You can step away from that business and it still runs.
Hmm.
If not, you're just technically self-employed. And getting people to understand their why probably be the most important thing. Why do you want to do this? Because I work 80 hours for myself, so I don't work 40 hours for somebody else.
Of course.
But somebody may say, I don't want to work 40 hours. If you thinking of working less, then entrepreneurship really isn't for you. This isn't a game in which you could work less in the beginning. You gotta be willing to work 80 hours for yourself, not to work 40 hours for somebody else. And most people that get into this don't really want to do that. A lot of people, they'll start entrepreneurship on the side and they'll start doing their business on the side. So they'll work 40 hours for somebody, then they'll work 20 on their business. Okay, so 60 hours total. And then they'll stop doing the 40-hour week job and it only work 40 on the business. Well, no, 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 no. You were working 60 total before. And you told yourself, if I didn't have to go to that job and I could devote all this extra time,
Of
I would do
course.
better. So, okay, now you're no longer working for them. Now you should be working 60 because you should be working the 20 you were doing before and the 40. But that's not how people do. They want to just do the Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and think that's going to be enough. And that's not really going to be enough to get started. These other businesses and corporations that are much bigger than you will eat your lunch.
Yep. And another thing too, I think even for me, this is my second week completely being full time as an entrepreneur or self employed. Is yeah, like my full time job was 80 hours a week or 80 hours every 2 weeks, sometimes more than that. So I had to put in at least 140 hours. And it's funny, and you know this, being an entrepreneur yourself, a lot of times you don't count the hours because you love what you're doing. You're working so much, you love what you're doing. But if you sit down and you count the number of hours that you're actually working, like for instance, I give you an example. I think it was on Wednesday. I worked from 7 to 8 o'clock. And I wasn't thinking. I'm just working because I have these tasks that I have to accomplish. So I think, to what you just said, being an entrepreneur or even self-employed in the beginning, it's the passion and the drive that you need. You need that passion and drive. It's not about the vacations. It's about doing something and building something that's going to last even when you're not around it. So that's excellent insight. Um, Going to Socialite Vision and some of your technology. When I went into your office, and I'm being honest, that technology, I've never seen technology in my life. I mean, I haven't had an eye exam in a while, but the last eye doctor that I've been to didn't have that. So you're known for cutting edge technology. How did you balance the innovation with the day to day operational demands of running a successful practice?
Well, I look at the technology aspect of my job of how I do it and how I do my eye exams. Not everybody does an eye exam the way I do it,
Oh
but
no.
that is a part of my marketing. That is a part of my brand. That is a part of when people talk about me and they ask people who should you go see. It's something that is going to stand out to you. Now, it is quite
Yes.
expensive to have that much technology that you got to experience. That does not come cheap, but it is a part of the experience. And I think to myself, if I had a problem with my eye, would I want that testing done on my own eye? And if the answer is yes, then I want to have that for the patient. Some people will do stuff for themselves, but they don't offer that same service to the patients that they see. And I think that's wrong. I really think if you think it's good enough for you, then it should be good enough for your patients. So I really put technology first as a part of it. I think of a few things when I'm thinking about adding technology to my office.
Mhm.
Does it make the eye exam easier for the patient? Is it easier for me to get the answers or the results I need? Does it explain it or make it easier for the patient to understand what I'm seeing? Because sometimes I can see it without the technology, but sometimes it's hard for the patients to understand. And if I can get patient buy-in, then they buy into the treatments much better because
Yes.
they fully understand exactly what is going on and what the problems they're having in their eyes. So uh, yeah, I love the technology. Patients love it. I'm happy that you have a positive response
Oh yeah.
from the technology, and it really does help. I would say optometry probably has the most technological advancement in the medical realm of any of the healthcare professions. You got to think when you go to your primary care doctor, they're still just doing blood and urine.
Yep.
They're weighing you, height, blood and urine. They still doing nothing has changed, right?
No.
And even when technology gets added, a lot of times that primary care doctor isn't paying for that technology. They refer you out to get an ultrasound. They refer you out to get an MRI. They refer you out to do the blood work. So they don't have to actually pay for that technology. I had to pay for that $500,000 of equipment in my office myself.
Oof.
So that's totally different than even a primary care doctor who doesn't have to do any of that cost burden on themselves. They can just sign up for something or refer out to somebody else. So optometry has really stepped up, and the burden is on us to provide it, but patients seem to appreciate it. Like sounds like you do.
Yes. Yeah, and if you are in the Palm Beach area, I'm telling you, it'll be an experience. I remember sitting down. I discovered for myself, you helped me to see that I actually had because I was getting headaches. I remember I kept getting headaches. Every time I would watch TV, I kept getting these random headaches. And I remember I put the machine on, and I think you helped me to realize that I actually had I can't remember what it's called, but my vision was a little bit off focus. So
A
you gave me
misalignment, it's called vertical. Yeah.
misalignment. Yes. So you gave me the eye drops. You told me about the glasses that I still have to get, but the eye drops helped tremendously because I was having dry eyes as well, and I still have those eye drops that your office graciously gave me. So if you are in the Palm Beach County area, please check it out. I mean, like you said, the optometry, the whole industry in itself, I've never seen anything like that ever in my life. So I definitely enjoyed that. Um, and Dr. Ramsey, I'm going to go to this. What advice? We're talking about young entrepreneurs, and I told you my passion for young entrepreneurs. What advice do you have for young entrepreneurs on scaling a small business like you did, especially in a high competitive field like healthcare?
I would say for entrepreneurs, period, or anybody that's running a business or growing your business, put yourself in the shoes of the customer. Look at it from the outside. Would
Mhm.
you utilize your own business? Because some of the people that run these businesses, they can be ultra picky about everybody else's business, but they're a little lax on their own. And I
Yes.
try to make sure that I am holding myself accountable, holding myself to the same standard that I would hold somebody else to. So I definitely would say, make sure that you want to be convenient. Make sure you want to make an easy experience for somebody to do business with you. I want to make it as easy as possible to do business with me. Um, and definitely you got to go the extra mile. You definitely
Yes.
have to. You definitely have to bring your personality. You definitely have to have your ducks in the row. Some people don't put the time into your business. You're gonna have to devote the time. You're gonna have to put in the effort. You're gonna have to put in the work. Um, and a lot of times you're gonna have to say no to the vacations, and you're gonna have to say no to sleep. And you're gonna have to say no to parties. I miss a lot of parties, and I miss a lot of events, and I miss a lot of birthdays, and I miss a lot of different things with my family in the beginning because you got to put in the work. If you
Yes.
open at 10, you got to be there at 9:30, 9 o'clock, 8:30. If you close at 6, you might be there till 8:30 at night. That's the job. When I pull up to my office, I'm probably the first car in there. When I'm leaving, all the other cars gone. You just see my car in the parking lot. And that's okay. That's the grind. That's what I signed up for. But a lot of people don't necessarily want to put in that level of work and that level of consistency because the experience that you got, you're supposed to get that experience every single time. I
Yes.
want you to refer somebody else and they say, "Oh yeah, it was just like you told me." But a lot of times entrepreneurs, they up and down, up and down, up and down. You have a good week, a bad week, good week, a bad week. Any little thing that happens can throw you off. And I leave my life at the door. I leave all my problems at the door because the patients didn't come here for that. They didn't come here for that. They came in for the full Dr. Ramsey experience. And because of that, you have to then come in and show up as your full authentic self. Now, taking time for yourself and self care and all that, yeah, that's cool. I understand. I do self care. I do that now, but I think too early in the process are we worrying about self care. Hey, you got to suck it up and get it done. That's
Oh
just
yeah.
that's just the job. And I think entrepreneurship is possible, but I would tell anybody that's looking into it, why are you just saying that? Oh, I don't like my boss. I still have a boss. My
Of
boss is the
course.
customer.
Yes.
My customer is the boss. So you may leave one boss for another because I still have to provide an experience that's good enough for you. And I have to listen to somebody. I'm still listening to somebody. I'm listening to the customer. I'm listening to what the customer says. I'm listening to what they buy. I'm listening to what they don't buy. I'm listening to when they book appointment. I'm listening to do they refer a friend? Because if my experience was not good enough for you to refer somebody to me, then to me it wasn't that good. Because when you walk out of a restaurant and that food is amazing. You tell somebody about it. You like, man, I went to that
Oh,
food.
of
Woo,
course.
that food was great.
Mhm.
But you gotta really go above and beyond. Because I've been in some places where the food was good. I was happy. I would go back there, but I didn't tell nobody about it.
No.
It was good enough for me to eat, and it would be good enough for me to return to eat again, but not so good that I want to call somebody on the phone and says, bruh, this food was hitting. I gotta go. You gotta try this. That's the level. And some people don't realize you got to go that far. I'm like, I got to do that much. You got to do that much to really do that. Most people give give the experience that is good, the person will return, but not so good that they want to tell somebody else about it. And that's how far above and beyond you have to really go to grow your business. And most people are not really willing to go to that level.
Yeah, you think about a business model like Chick-fil-A. And I'm sure if you've been in Palm Beach for a long time, I remember, I mean, I'm 35, but I remember Chick-fil-A was in the Palm Beach Mall. Nobody went there. Barely. I barely saw anybody. And I remember I was probably around 13, 12, 13 years old. Chick-fil-A, I don't eat fast food too much, but I know for a fact when I go there, I'm getting service. The food, I mean, it's still fast food, but the food is clean, it's not greasy, and it's consistency. Every location that you go to, like you mentioned with your location, when I went there, it stuck in my mind. I don't remember any of my other optometrists in my life. I don't remember getting my eyes checked by anybody else. The only thing I remember is the little what is the graph called when you look at the guy and they have like the different letters there where you can see the different sizes.
Come on,
That's the
just a vision chart.
vision chart. That's all I remember. I don't remember any of the technology. I don't remember the doctor. I don't remember any of those things. So I think that customer experience, of course, consistency, all of those things matter. And going to the next point really quick, fiercely independent, because I could feel the passion through the screen from you. And I do think that you have to have a certain amount of a militant mindset. You have to be hard on yourself because if you're not hard on yourself, who else is going to be? How has that mindset, being fiercely independent, shaped your career? And what can some other entrepreneurs learn from what you just said?
Now that fiercely independent stuff started from when I was a child.
Mm.
Um, I probably give my mama hell to be honest with you. I don't like to take advice from people that I don't think are better qualified than me or don't
Right.
know anymore. I would do terrible as an employee for a boss that isn't better than me. Now, I
Right.
did well when I was working for other people, for when I worked under people that were actually better and smarter than me. But whenever I got to somebody, I realized you didn't know what you're doing and you asking me to teach you how to do your job,
Mm.
I lost respect and I couldn't do well with that. So now with my business, I I started my own place because I wanted to do my own. I'd rather sink and swim on my own dime. If I didn't do well, then it's my fault. If I did well, it's my fault. I can take it both ways. Sometimes I have a good day, a good month, good week. Sometimes I have a bad day, bad month, bad week. But then I can look at myself in the mirror and say, well, did I give it 150%? And
Mm.
sometimes I'm giving 100%, but not 150. And I can look at myself and says, well, you gave 100%, but you didn't give 150 this week. You really was coasting. And for me, it's been really important. For me, it's been really important to hold myself accountable because my hardest critic.
Yes.
Nobody can hold me more accountable than I do to myself. I get mad at myself when I don't show up appropriately, worse than anybody else can come say something to me. Um, and for me, I make sure that an independent also works in the vendors and the products that I support and the companies that I work with because I want a partnership in which we're both supporting each other. I don't want a partnership with somebody that isn't reliant on supporting me and I'm relying on supporting them and we're both working together for a common goal. Um, so I try to support independents. I try to support small businesses. I try to support minority businesses. Um, but I don't support them only because they're minority or only because they're black. I support them because they're good and they happen to be black. And I think
Right.
that's where a lot of African Americans, minorities in general, struggle in that they want people to support them because they black. But
Mm.
if your business is no good and you black, I'm not supporting you. And they hang their hat too much on I want support from the community without doing what you need to do first. Your business needs to be good and it happens to be black and I want to support you. But
Right.
I can't just support you for foolishness. I can't support you if you say the restaurant is going to be open at 4. You can't have a sign that says we're gonna open at 5:30 today. No, online it says 4 o'clock. It needs to whatever it says. Oh, we don't have all that on the menu today. That's not how this is supposed to work. You're supposed to have and govern yourself accordingly. So I tell people, support the business because it's good, and I happen to be black. But I would never want anybody to support me only because I'm black. Because I also think I'm the best optometrist in Palm Beach County, not just the first black optometrist Palm Beach County has ever had. I feel like I carry myself like I'm also the best optometrist that Palm Beach County has, and I happen to be black.
Yeah. And skin color means absolutely nothing. If your business is bad, your business is just bad. I mean, the product has to matter. I mean, I used to work for a company called Scott's Miracle Grow. I had no idea the CEO, I believe, of Home Depot, he's a black guy. Nobody thinks about skin color when it comes to that at all. It's the product, it's the performance, it's the employees. All those things go together. So speaking of scaling, let's go back. Black Eye Care Perspective in Health Focus South Florida. You co-founded these things. How important is it for entrepreneurs to engage with their communities, and what role does networking play in building a business?
Yeah, well, those two things are very different. Health Focus South Florida was just a community in which we can get different people to get thinking about health around in the South Florida area, and we had different in businesses that were in the health sphere, dentists, chiropractors, pharmacists that all own their own business, and we would go and post information and share with clients, customers, patients,
Mm.
just to be able to get to more emphasis on health in South Florida. So that's been big. But my passion has been more recently on my nonprofit. So you're mentioning Black Eye Care Perspective, a
I
nonprofit.
see it
It's a
all the time on
501c.
LinkedIn. Yes.
Yeah. And it is about getting more diversity in eye care. So optometry makes up about 1 to 2% African Americans are black in optometry. And the national census has it as about 13% of the African Americans make up the US Census. So there's a big gap in between how we're
Wow.
represented in the world and how we're represented in this actual profession. So me and a partner of mine, Dr. Darrell Glover, shout out to him,
Mhm.
started Black Eye Care Perspective, in which we wanted to get more minorities into the profession. And then once they get in, we wanted to get them more opportunities in the profession to grow and advance and push the envelope, because there are people doing amazing things, and there are students that would deserve an opportunity in this profession. So right now we have about 200 students in our pre-optometry program. We have about 100 in undergrad and about 100 in optometry school currently, and we're helping the students get into school and then graduate. We have our first graduating class of students coming out in May of this year coming up, and we're
Congratulations. Wow.
excited, really excited for that. We getting the students free rides. They get backpacks, laptops. We give them trips so they get to experience and see different things, headshots, interview prep. All the different things that you would actually need. We do mindfulness coaching. We have a therapist that meets with them once a month as well to help them get their mind, because a lot of times the problem is right between the ears. We are our worst critic. We put ourselves down, sometimes we beat ourselves up. And if we can get our mind together, we can accomplish almost anything. So, yeah, that's a nonprofit. Or have two other partners, Dr. Essence Johnson. She's our executive director, runs most of the show. Dr. Jacoby Cleaver, he works with the students mainly, and he's the one actually onboarding the students and keeping up with them month to month. And then Dr. Tiffany Humes, she's working with the students once they get into optometry school, and she meets with them quarterly to help them along the way once they get in. Because when they get in, they don't have as much time as when they were in undergrad. Optometry school is pretty course intensive. So we meet with them quarterly once they're in actual optometry school.
Wow. So do you actually own a building for the kids to go and meet up, or is it just they're meeting up at a specific place and going? How does that work?
We
That's
meet
very interesting.
we meet on the 13th of every month. It's all virtual because the
Mm,
students are at every different school.
right.
So the students are all throughout the U.S. There are 25 schools of optometry around the country,
Wow.
and we have students in pretty much every school. So, but like when I went to optometry school, I was the only black male in the whole school. All 4 years, I was the only black male in the whole school. And I went to school in Memphis, Tennessee. So very high population of black people in Memphis, but I was
Mhm,
the only black guy at the school.
mhm.
So there was definitely a lot of lonely moments. Definitely, I'm far away from home and stuff like that. So we meet virtually so that even if you're the only black person at your school, you can jump on a Zoom and you get connected with other people going through the same thing and having the same experience. So they never feel like they're alone. They always feel like they have somebody with them. Everybody's going through the same thing at the same time, even though they're in different spaces.
Mhm.
So the Zoom and FaceTime and all that stuff has definitely allowed us to create and do something that works. So the students literally meet up on the 13th of every month around 8 o'clock at night,
Right.
and they meet for about an hour, hour and a half, and connect. So no matter what day, if it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, 13th of every month, they meet, get on there, and the students look forward to it.
I think it's interesting too. Just you being the only black guy in the school. How did you? Where did the passion for optometry come from? Because that is a very specific. I hear all the time about people want to be dentists, they wanted to be doctors, different things like that. Where did that passion come from?
Well, I mean, I wear contacts, so because I'm on this call here, I wear my contacts. Sometimes I wear my glasses, but the
Right.
the light and stuff will reflect on the screen, so I wear my contacts. So I've been getting my eyes checked since I was 3. So
Hmm.
I've worn glasses my whole life, so I've had exposure to the profession.
Right.
But it's crazy. I was at my optometrist office, and my optometrist was talking to one of his colleagues, and
Hmm.
he said, "Hey, I have the afternoon off. I don't have any patients this afternoon. You want to go play 9 holes of golf?" And he wasn't talking to me. The door was just cracking. I could hear him.
Right.
And just the thought of being able to control my own destiny, and said I could do what I could just decide. Now I don't even play golf like that, but the fact that I could decide what I wanted to do perked the ears of the 21-year-old me and says, I need to look into this profession. Why not? Why not optometry? I looked at everything else. I've been coming here since I was 3. And that's another reason why I also started Black Eye Care Perspective, because you got to think, I've been going there since I was 3 years old. They never asked me about the profession. They never included me. They never tried to encourage me to join. Nothing.
Right.
Because maybe they didn't see me the way they see other people. Maybe they didn't see me in that profession because there isn't too many people like me in the
Of
profession. So
course.
sometimes you don't see it. So that's why I wanted to create Black Eye Care perspective, because I want the kids to be feel seen. And I says, I see you in that room. I see you at school. I see you where you are, and I believe that you can join me, and I believe you can join my office. Now I have one of my students that intern with me now is an associate at my office, and he sees patients on the Fridays, like the Charlton Butts is now on Friday. I'm recording this webinar right now with you on a Friday because I have the other doctor working for me on Fridays, and
Amazing.
he used to be an intern in my office. And I told him, I see you. He went all the way through school, graduated, and now he's working at my office. And I got a whole bunch of them coming out in the future. So I might be trying to expand a little bit because I can't hire all of them, and they all think they're gonna come work for me. And I says, they like, well, you hired him, and I says, yeah, but I can't hire everybody. So
That's a
I'm
good
gonna,
thing to have, though. That's a good blessing, of
yeah,
course.
I'm working on that. I'm working on that.
hmm And also with you, because I follow you on LinkedIn, as someone deeply involved with social and civil initiatives, how can business owners integrate social responsibilities into their own business models?
This is a little tricky, okay?
hmm
In that I I am an optometrist for everybody, right?
Yes.
Being pro-black make me anti-Spanish because I can be pro saving the trees does not mean I don't care about cancer,
Of
right? I think
course.
some people get that mixed up. That if
They
you're
do.
pro something, assume that you're anti that. No, I can be pro something without being anti that, and I think that has to come across. But I think also I'm an authentic person, and I share a lot on social media, but I don't share everything.
Mhm.
Um, and because I am authentic and I'm okay with that, and I know I'm doing things for the right reason, I try not to come across hateful or argumentative, and I come across as passionate and I come
Yeah,
across as caring. Even if you do not agree with my point, a lot of times they're not necessarily going to be mad at what I'm saying because I'm saying it from a loving and caring place. So I think depends on the way you say it. I work on that even with my wife to this day. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's how it comes across. It's why you say it. And sometimes you have to say things in a way that somebody can receive it. Because getting something off your chest, if you get it off your chest, but you say it in the wrong way, you should have never got it off your chest. So you definitely have to make sure that the way you're saying it and who you're saying it to, they're open and receptive to receiving the information you're giving. Um, so I try to do everything with love. I try to do it from a good and genuine place. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is important because I know what it's like to be on the outside looking in. I know what it's like to be sitting in that room. You could be in a room full of people and feel like you're alone. I've been there. So I definitely never want other people to feel that way. If it can be helped, it can be avoided. So I work on those things. I share on platforms like LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. I'm not on TikTok. I don't really do the ticking and talking. It's not I don't have. I'm not a dancer, so I just can't. And the time it takes to put those things together, people got to really do that, and I don't really have that kind of time. So, but I do like to use my platform for something positive. And a lot of times people will look, but may not comment or like it, but they're looking and they're seeing and they're receiving the information. So I just try to give it out from a good and genuine place.
Yeah, and I think also it's just you, from what I follow you, it's raising awareness. I mean, sometimes LinkedIn, and I'll just use LinkedIn as an example, could be a place of posting, accomplishments and different things, but there are things that certain people go through, especially at conferences. I remember you posted something about that really hit me because these are things that we all experience in one way or another. So I think also it's just raising awareness, but you're not doing it in a way that's hateful, but you're bringing it up, and it's a good cause for conversation because, as me being a black male, same thing as you, we go and we experience these things. We're not complaining about it, but I think it's awesome that you're raising awareness for other people to see, hey, maybe I need to be a little bit more aware of how I'm treating or how I'm coming across. That's a simple thing for me. Changing points a little bit though, because I know for myself, even now, I got these perfect things right here. I always keep these. You
Mhm.
specializing in myopia control and dry eye care. What advancements in these areas should patients be aware of, and how are you helping to implement these technologies in your practice?
So with the drops that you're putting on there, I tell patients that we're using computers and phones more now than we ever did before. What you have to realize is when you stare at a computer, you don't blink as much. The issue with that is the blinking is what actually produces the tears. So if when you're concentrating on something, you do not blink as much, you will not produce enough tears to allow your eyes to stay moist enough not to feel dry, not to get irritated. So using a lubricant like what you showed there, I like the preservative free, which is why it comes in those little individual vials because they're preservative free. Um, the preservative that's in those drops, if you get the bigger bottle has a preservative in there which keeps its shelf stable for a longer period. But the problem is that preservative can be irritant to the eye. So the preservative free drops work much better, and it gives you more of the relief you're looking for. And the type of drop you use matters. Because think about it, if you ran a marathon, after a marathon, should you drink a Coke or a Gatorade or water? There's a difference. All
Hmm.
three of those are liquid, but they all don't quench your thirst the same, right? So
Right.
just because it's liquid doesn't mean it's going to produce the same outcome. So what the liquid is and the consistency and the makeup of the liquid matters. So starting with a good artificial tear is important. And then there's a lot of other things that and then beyond that, you got to figure out why your eyes are dry. Do you not produce enough tears, or do your tears evaporate too quickly? Or do the makeup of the tears that is coming out from your eye not good? The quality, what's inside of the actual liquid needs to be updated. And that's what we talk about: vitamins, nutritional supplements. We talk about medication. We talk about in-office procedures. There's a lot of things that you can do. So why your eyes are dry? First, you start off with an over-the-counter lubricant, preservative-free tear. Start there. If that's not enough, then that's when you go in to get your eyes checked by an optometrist near you, and you're able to find out why my eyes are dry, so that you can get a targeted approach to the actual therapies that you need.
Right. And you mentioned technologies, of course. I mean, a lot of us, we're looking at phones. And I know for myself, I try not to, but I still do it anyway. I'm looking at a phone in a dark room, an inch away from my face. I remember someone told me, and maybe you can confirm for me, is it possible to detach a retina from staring at a screen for too long?
Nah, the screen staring won't do that. There'd be other reason why I do that, but no. I mean, there's a lot of
Mm,
stuff, and that's why I struggle with stuff like this in general, or in any kind of social media setting. Don't take everything on TikTok or these little short reels.
I see it. Yep.
Yeah, sometimes they go a little far. That's why I try to keep my medical advice general,
Mm,
and try to stay away from that because that's not accurate. And just because somebody says it doesn't mean it's accurate. Just because it's repeated doesn't mean it's accurate. No, and just because it's in a book, it might not make it accurate either. Nobody proofreads and fact checks a book. So just because it's printed, just because it's said, just because it's on video, doesn't make it accurate. So no, that won't cause that. Definitely, you want to watch the screen time. Want to watch the screen time in a dark room. You got to realize that in a dark room, your pupil gets bigger. The pupil is a little
mm,
hole in the middle of your iris,
mm.
so you're letting more light in a dark room, because that bright screen in a dark room, your pupil is bigger, is letting all the light and the blue light into your eyes. So definitely want to avoid that. Even in my when you came in for my exam, you noticed that I had a standing lamp in the corner,
Oh, yeah.
because even in my dark room, I wanted to have some sort of offset light to offset the dark room that I'm in all the time.
Of course. Yeah, and another thing too. This is my last one. These are like off the cuff questions. I've always been interested. Pools, jumping in pools, and is it advisable for chlorine? Is it okay for chlorine to hit your eyes in a pool, or should you wear goggles?
I prefer saltwater pools, so you don't have as much chlorine. But
Ah,
the salt water then does turn into chlorine to actually kill the bacteria, but it's starting off from a better base. You'll notice in
right.
a saltwater pool, your fingers won't shrivel up and stuff like that. Your skin won't feel as dry. It won't come off because of the chemicals that's in there.
Mm,
But in general, wearing goggles or some sort of eye protection would be advisable in any of those scenarios. Your eyes are very sensitive. Your eyes don't really like to be messed with too much, and it doesn't like
right.
the pH and the acidity of your eyes to be thrown off. And the pool is why it will burn your eyes. You could be in a chlorine pool for a long time. You come out and say, my eyes are burning because it doesn't like the consistency of what's in there. So I prefer a saltwater pool, if anything, and then definitely wearing some sort of goggles or eye protection if you're going to be in there for an extended period.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's actually the opposite for me though. Like chlorine in pools don't bother my eyes at all. I think is when I get in salt water and I open my eyes in salt water in the
That's two
ocean.
different things. I said saltwater pool. So a saltwater pool
Ah,
different than the salt from the ocean. So
gotcha.
saltwater was softer. Yes, the ocean has way more salt from that, but the saltwater pool is different. I just want to make sure I clarify if I didn't say
Gotcha.
it clearly. Okay. So
Yeah.
saltwater pool is a way they use to clean the pool. They're using salt to start. It
Mhm.
turns into chlorine, but it's just a better way instead of just pouring direct chlorine into the pool. The salt from the ocean, you're going to have that same issue, but you're also going to have other issues in the ocean. If you took that water in the ocean and you put it on a microscope, you're gonna have bacteria, virus, protozoans, algae. You're gonna have all kind of stuff in that water. So it isn't just the salt; it's all the other stuff in that water. That water is a living microorganism. So you're gonna have all kind of other things as well. So it isn't just the salt; it's other things in the ocean. The ocean is real; it's living. So if you put that on a microscope, you will certainly. If you pour water on a piece of paper, something will grow
Right.
right off of that. So
That's crazy.
yeah, it's a little different.
Once again, whenever I run into trouble, pop these
Use
out
eye
right here.
drops.
Pop them right out. All right, let's finish up with young people. So you talked about your great group. These kids, they're getting educated. They're getting some opportunities. What are some exciting opportunities and challenges in the field today that you know that weren't there when you were coming up?
You said some exciting opportunities or challenges.
Yeah,
It's kind of
opportunities and some challenges because there's a little bit of both, I'm sure.
well, I mean, there's opportunities everywhere. And now they're gonna come out with an optometry school that you can do online, where you can do the first 2 years online, and then you can do the last 2 years locally, filling in at different doctor's office. Like say you came and worked in my office for 2 years
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So there's ways that people that are all around could actually get access to the profession a lot easier. So some people are doing some virtual. The classes that I had to go in person in Memphis to go do those classes. Now that since COVID, we've done so much online, they're opening their eyes to being like, okay, could the person do the first 2 years online and be able to be at home and stuff like that? So there's more access to the profession now than there ever was before.
mhm.
Challenges. I mean, just today we heard Walgreens is closing 1,200 stores, and that might seem like a little bit, but if they have 4,000 stores, closing 1,200 is a sizable amount of stores. 1,200 out of 4,000 is a sizable amount of stores, and that's being driven from insurances. That's being driven from a lot of big factors that play into that arena. So there's definitely a lot of challenges. There's a lot of different competitors in the space. But I would tell you, the cream rises to the top. The best and the brightest gonna survive anything. The ones that are mediocre or bottom of the barrel are not gonna make it. Because Walgreens isn't gonna close their best stores; they're gonna close their worst
Oh, of
stores.
course not.
So,
Of course.
same thing with any profession. The best students are going to make it no matter what. The worst students are going to struggle. So I think this is a wake up call to anybody and a reason to say you got to really be good at your game. You really got to be on top of your game, um, and make sure that you have something that differentiates you. You have something that sticks you out from the crowd, where somebody's going to make it memorable. And I think finding your own lane in the profession makes it much easier, in which people can they know exactly when to refer to you, they know exactly when to come to you, and then staying on top of your craft. I mean, I post some stuff when I go to my patients, also see, hey, Dr. Ramsey's staying on top of the game. I'm always going to classes. I'm always learning. I'm always trying to better myself. So I graduated, I passed all the stuff, I did all this, but I probably learned more since I graduated optometry school than I probably learned in the time I was in school. So I've actually I practice with equipment and do therapies now that I didn't even learn in school. They weren't even out when I was in school. This wasn't even a thing in school. The stuff that I'm doing now. So I try to stay on top of my game to make sure that I'm improving. But that takes time. That takes effort. That takes energy. That takes time away from my family that I devote and come back. But I think my patients appreciate it, and
Of course.
I'm happy about it.
Yeah, and I think it's just a huge inspiration to the kids too. Kids that do want to come work for you because they see the amount. I'm sure they see the amount of work that it takes. It's a lot of work, being the CEO of anything or just being over your own life is tough. But let's jump in because we're about to wrap up here. Looking ahead, what are some goals for Socialite Vision and Black Eye Care perspective that you could see yourself innovating and implementing in the near future?
Um, I'm debating on. I definitely need to get bigger, so I'm running out of space at the office. So
Oh yeah,
I either need to get into a bigger space, or I'll be opening up a second location in the next 2 to 3 years. That's
Ooh,
my current process that I'm going through. So stay tuned for what happens. I either get a bigger space or get a second space. Not sure. I'm
bring
still
one
working.
in Boca. Bring one in
Yeah,
Boca.
yeah. I'm working through all those logistics and working through all those different things. I'm excited for what the opportunities have in the near future. Definitely want to bring on more doctors and have more staff in the office. So I'm growing. Just finding good staff, finding people that want to work, finding people that want to work to the level that I want, because I can have these high standards, but I also have to have a team that have that same level of standards because they interact with the patients just as much as I do. So making sure that I grow my team, making sure that I'm a leader that people want to follow. So I have to have a team that wants to follow, they believe and understand the mission and the vision. I'm here talking to you, but I have my staff is working with another doctor at the office, and I'm expecting them to get the social life vision experience. Even if Dr. Ramsey's not in there, I need the patient to leave still believing that they got the social life vision experience, because I've set up parameters, I've set up systems in the office in which even when I'm not there, they're still getting a great experience. That's my goal and that's my vision.
Processes, processes, processes. That's very, very, very important. Just one more question for you, and actually two more questions. I think this is a huge one, usually for the viewers, is money. So, if you're a young prospective student, you just graduated, around the pay range, what are you expecting to make? I guess working for a practice straight out of school, what are you expecting to make around what range?
Really depends on your workload. It depends on how much you want to work. Depends on
Mhm.
how much effort you put in there. Optometry, you're getting six figures to start, but there's really no limit, because if I
Right.
sell 1,000 glasses versus I sell two glasses, your pay is going to be dependent on how well you communicate needs and experiences to a patient, and how
Right.
well people buy into the treatments that you're giving, and if you get good treatment outcomes. If I sell you something for $5 and it works, you'll buy it again. But if I
Of
sell it to
course.
you for $5 and it doesn't work, you're not going to buy it again. So, um, six figures is there, but I would tell people, if you want salaries, the salaries are posted online. But because I'm an entrepreneur, there's really no limit to what you make. Your limit
Oh
is
yeah, it's
on your
different for you, of
work.
course.
Um, Sometimes I've worked 6, 7 days a week, and you can make more. Some people come out and they work 3 days a week and they make a lot less, but that they're happy because they got the work life balance that they want. So I think it's really based upon how much that work life balance is going to work for you. If you're willing to work more, you get paid more.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you said that, because I know a lot of people like to look at salaries first before they get into it, but they forget that the passion has to be there, because passion leads to long work hours, but you actually enjoy what you're doing, So, last question for you too before I go. If you can go back to when you first started your career, what advice would you give a young Dr. Adam Ramsey coming out of school?
Mm,
If you could talk to yourself right now.
mhm. I would say take a little bit more time and slow down. I was
Mm,
always running a race like somebody was chasing me. That's always been my thing. And if I could tell myself again, I would slow down. I would think through it a little bit more, and I would not put so much
mm.
pressure on myself, because I'm my hardest critic, like I said at the beginning. So I put a lot of pressure on myself to be good, to be better than my peers. You got to be twice as good to get half as much. I've always had that feeling. So if I could ever tell myself to slow down, think it through, and put some more thought into why I'm doing something or what I want to do, I would still probably end up here, but I probably would not put so much pressure on myself, because that pressure can be a lot sometimes. It can make diamonds, but it also burst pipes. So, I use that pressure to its advantage, and I would just give myself a little bit more grace.
Yes. Definitely, you be preaching to the choir right here, because I'm going through that right now. Is making sure that I slow down. But Dr. Ramsey, thank you so much for, I know you're busy, but luckily you got a great staff, you got great processes to where you can take this time and speak to me. Once again, Dr. Ramsey, tell people a little bit about where you are, where they can find you, how they can set an appointment.
You can go on socialitevision.com and you can make an appointment online, scan the QR code or click the link. You can 24/7, 7 days a week, you can book an appointment. You can also text 561-336-0733, and that'll get you an appointment. They'll definitely help you get an appointment. And I'm in Palm Beach Gardens, 4871 EGA Boulevard. And anybody who wants to reach me directly, Facebook, links, LinkedIn, Instagram, direct message, I answer it myself. If you can't find me, you weren't really trying.
Dr. Ramsey, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been 1 Hour Media Industry Insiders with Dr. Adam Ramsey. If you did have any questions, of course, we'll drop the links and everything to how you can reach him. And if you are interested in Black Eye Care Perspective, and I'm sorry, Dr. Ramsey, if you could just plug a little bit for any young people that might want to join your program, how they can get there as well.
Yeah, if you go to blackeyecareperspective.com and click on prospective students, you fill out the form so we can understand what school you are, where you are in the process, and then we'll reach out to you directly.
Okay. Dr. Ramsey, thank you so much. This has been DeAndre French, out.